please turn off your video and mute yourself, because we are going to be recording, and unless you want to be in the recording for some reason, but actually it's a lot better for us and saving everyone's Wi-Fi, bandwidth, all that stuff too. But we're just letting in a few more people. So hello, everyone. Awesome. Oh my gosh, OCTO, y'all brought so many fantastic people. Welcome. Also designers from Amazon, AWS. Hey, Albert. Nice to see you. ML engineers from Paris. Fantastic. We'll just give it one more minute. We'll be letting some more people in. I'm going to wait till we have about a third of the RSVPs. I guess we're close to a third of the RSVPs. They can watch the recording later if they really miss it and everything too. But hello and welcome to the Machine Learning and User Experience Meetup. I am your host, the organizer and founder, Michelle. So today I'm super excited because you might be wondering, wait a second, normally MLUX is in the evenings after work hours in Pacific time. This is in the morning. Yes, that is because we are coming to you live from the evening in Paris. This is our first European, Paris, let alone European MLUX event. And we are very excited to have the OCTO team, particularly Augustin, who's a lead data scientist from OCTO Technologies, actually share a case study on trust and intelligence systems today. For those of you who are new, I'm going to actually do a quick overview about what is MLUX. And I want to also give a heads up that if you are on Twitter, you should definitely follow us at MLUX Meetup. And also, I've been tweeting at OCTO Technology. We'll let you know too. So you can tweet directly at MLUX and at OCTO to let us know what your questions are, but we'll be also answering questions in chat. We'll leave the line open for a little bit afterwards too. I know like some folks just want to meet other people, super cool. We're going to try to simulate that as much as we can in virtual space. But yeah, let's get started. I would also love to invite you all to turn off your cameras and mute. Benjamin, Fareed, David, so nice to meet you, so nice to see you. But yes, so awesome. And also welcome everyone, especially those, this is your first MLUX, we're so excited to have you. Let's get started. So hello, welcome. Yeah, we're doing it. First MLUX Paris with OCTO. Big thank you to all of the OCTO Technology folks, Johan, Andrea, Mehdi, Augustin, really they reached out to us at MLUX and we're like, hey, longtime fans, we would love to do an event out in Paris. Let's take advantage of like the, virtualness of this time. So this is how talks happen at MLUX, is that we had a couple kickoff meetings and I was like, oh, looks like this is a really interesting talk. So like, let's do it. So we're gonna learn from Augustin, a lead data scientist from OCTO Technologies, on trust and intelligence systems. But very quickly, who am I? Who are we? MLUX. I might be the only person speaking at the moment. My name is Michelle. I'm a senior UX researcher at Google AI as my day job, but totally outside my job, my passion project is running this meetup. I love machine learning and UX. I actually do this with a ton of other volunteers. So many people on the line. I saw Albert, Bob, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much to all of the folks who helped make this happen. And if you are interested in volunteering at any point, please do feel free to reach out. This can't happen without awesome folks like you. So what is machine learning and UX for those of you who might be your first time? So I like to think about it as, how do we use data science techniques, data analysis to inform and drive UX design decisions, but also how do we design experiences that let the users know exactly kind of what's happening in their data, how they can control it, how they can give feedback to the system. So that's really what we are interested in here at MLUX is focusing on case studies around that. I also like to say too, for those of you who are not familiar with these different disciplines, UX is a lot more than just visual design. It is information architecture, UX research, copywriting, all the things that go into the experience, as well as data scientists who might be on the line who are like, wait, I do AI and all this stuff too. Yes, 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 I'm lumping you in with the data side, but it is machine learning, artificial intelligence, even like basic stats, and how do we use that to inform the UX decisions that we make. So when these two come together, they make amazing experiences like this. This is one of my favorites. It's from Pinterest. It's their visual search or visual discovery tool. But you can see here, like, we don't actually need to know what's happening in the machine learning or the AI system. As someone's scrolling, they see something that they're really interested in, that pizza, and that they are able to quickly re-query their search without having to go back up to the top, retype it into the search bar. And that can happen a variety of ways, whether that's NLP with tags, whether that's computer vision, and we have like 5 different, images behind every one image, which we could easily surface that's similar. So it's like these magical experiences when they come together, it just feels fantastic, and it helps the user stay on task with whatever they're doing. And there's so many more examples of this. I actually, end of last year, I finally wrote up a bunch of examples of this. So if you're interested, definitely take a look there. bit.ly/whatisMLUX. We have a fantastic Medium channel that you can read a bunch of other stories about. Our vision at MLUX, the meetup, is really to create a collaborative environment between UX, data science, and everyone in between. And we really aim to organize a community that helps foster cooperation, creativity, and learning across all disciplines, whether you're a PM, a software engineer, a UX designer, or data scientist. We really want to create a space for you to discuss human-centered machine learning and share resources and best practices. So we do this by actually hosting tech talks like this, or panels, or other types of discussions to share those lessons learned. So that's why we are so excited to have OCTO's Augustin actually share with us trust in intelligent systems today, because they are working on really cool and fascinating things, and we could all learn from that. So we also have a YouTube channel, which this recording will be on. We also have a Twitter. If you are interested or see any cool articles, always feel free to tweet at us. And I'm also particularly proud of our Medium channel, where we have fantastic volunteers who actually write up the events that we host, including Andrea. Big shout out to Andrea, who is hosting us in Zoom today and doing the recordings, and also taking it on to not only write up this event, but write it up in French. For all of you folks who are on the line joining from Paris, I'm sorry I'm speaking English, and I'm sorry I'm speaking fast, but don't worry, Andrea has your back, and he will actually write it up for all of us to learn more. So definitely check that out, medium.com/ML-UX. That will be coming soon. And just the final note that I want to say before we get started, I guess 2 final notes. MLUX can't happen without you. So we need speakers, we need volunteers, we need cool tweets about stuff you see. We are a part of a larger community. And so if you like the OCTO team, they just sent me an email, humans@MLUXSF, saying like, hey, we're super interested, longtime listeners, we want to do an event. And so thank you to you all for pitching it to me, and I loved hearing about it. And I know that we have some other cool events coming up in the next few months, also based in Europe. Spoiler alert, watch our Twitter for more. But yes, we definitely want to hear from you if you're interested in collaborating some more. And I know the OCTO team is really interested in hosting more MLUX events in Paris in particular. So if this is of interest, those of the folks who are Parisian and joining, definitely stay on the line, keep us posted. We want to host more of these. And yes, I also want to acknowledge, I'm seeing in the chat, Andrea is the best in French. Yes, he totally is. Thank you, Andrea, for doing all this. The last thing I want to say before we hand it off to our guest speaker is that MLUX is a part of a larger group of Feminist AI, and we do a bunch of free events just like this. So you might have noticed, wait, this is an amazing talk and it's free. Yes, we do a bunch of free events. We also do a lot of free programming, not just like coding programming, but like actual like courses and curriculum and tutorials to help bring AI or everyone to AI. Our latest campaign is called reimagine AI for everybody. We have done events with Dr. Sophia Noble, who is the author of Algorithms of Oppression. We've done events with the Women's Center for Creative Work. So if this is of interest to you, I strongly recommend checking them out. Feminist AI is their website. They're doing a GoFundMe at the moment. But yeah, all these events are free because we have amazing volunteer speakers and just volunteers from our community to come out and do this. So thank you to everyone who donated money for the ticket. That goes back to that program. Okay, without further ado, I would love to introduce Augustin. He is a data science manager over at OCTO Technologies in Paris. And today, Augustin's going to be sharing with us a talk on trusted intelligent systems. And just a quick reminder, totally follow us on Twitter at MLUX Meetup and at OCTO Technology. That's going to be the best way to tweet at us, take photos, screenshots of what you're learning, share back with us, because we're really interested in that too. So Augustin, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you, Michelle, for this wonderful introduction. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, I think that's it.
Perfect.
Yes, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for coming today and listening to me. I'm quite excited to share with you about this topic of trust in intelligent systems. And first, I'd like just to introduce the topic and say what we're going to talk about, but also what we're not going to talk about, because trust is quite a very wide issue. And we're going to focus on trust, you know, just trust, no fairness, no representativity, transparency, and all that very interesting topics. But these are way beyond the sole question of trust. So tonight is about trust and not all the ethical problems we can have with AI. And I tried to have an approach based on psychological mechanisms. I worked with a friend of mine at OCTO, who is a neuroscientist researcher, so someone with very a lot of background on this human brains topic. But I tried to have some practical takeaways for us data scientists and how to build trust, what makes trust in our brain, you know, and how can I use this or use it in a better way in my daily work. The point of view that we're going to use is the point of view of a user of intelligent system. And I define a user as someone who has the responsibility to use or not to use an intelligent system. And this is a very important definition, because sometimes, especially in a B2B context, you can have end users who are not indeed your real users because they have to use your system. They cannot choose not to use it. So you must always focus on people who have the responsibility to use or not to use your system. These are the people with whom you want to trust. And first thing that we may explore is that trust is indeed a decision for us, human. And we'll take a notion which is called the decision confidence. And some neuroscientists designed a model which explains how decision-making works, you know, just in our brains. And this is a model for a binary decision. So you have two options, either option 1 at the top or option 2 at the bottom. And what they told us is that we gain information over time, which is either in favor of option 1 or option 2. And so as time goes, sometimes you have option in favor of option 1, so the curve goes higher, and sometimes in favor of option 2, so it goes lower. But you have also a certain threshold, which is the quantity of information you need to accumulate in order to take a decision. And once you reach the threshold, you're okay, I'm fine, I took my decision, and I'm pretty confident with it. If you have to take your decision a bit earlier, let's say at the middle of the curve, then you're closer to option 1, but you're not as confident as you would be at the end of the curve, because you have less information. You're still in favor of option 1, but you're less confident. And we found this interesting because we can try to apply it to AI and to the question of trust in intelligent systems. So we have a binary option, which is indeed following an intelligent system at the top or not following it, which is a binary decision. I can do either at the first or the second, but not both at the same time. And I have to choose between one of the two. So I receive information over time, and it can be quite a short period or very long. It depends with trials and errors. And I accumulate information in green in favor of following the intelligent system, and in red in favor of just not following it and I'm not confident in following this intelligent system. So that's how we try to apply this model, which was given to us by a neuroscientist. Why is it interesting? Well, I like to think of trust in intelligent systems in the words of confidence. Trust is kind of an absolute notion. I trust someone. It comes from the emotions. There is not necessarily a rational basis. I trust my friends. I trust my family. But confidence is much more of a context-based notion. I require past elements, it's something more rational. So instead of speaking of trust in intelligent systems, I prefer to talk about confidence in our decision as user to follow or not the recommendation, which is a different thing. What doesn't help, indeed, is that in French, we have the exact same word for these two notions, which is confiance. So it doesn't really help explaining everything, but for native English speakers, it's much more easier. So just, well, if you want to have the difference between the two, you have confidence in your coworkers for handling a case, but you trust your significant other. So that's how you can remind this. And so in order to improve trust in the intelligent systems from my user's perspective, I have to improve the confidence I have in making the decision to follow the intelligent system. And to improve this confidence is indeed, and that's what the model tells us, to improve the quantity of information available to me for making the choice. It's not that much about is the information about the perfectness or the performance of the intelligent system. It's just about having more information, just more information. So you have a lot of ways to do this, and data scientists know a lot of these, giving decision probability, giving some explicative parameters, giving access to a bit of the internals of a model that you designed, giving some similar examples, by clustering and say, hey, it looks like this that you previously saw in the application. But, well, you have many ways to do this, but you now have a good reason, indeed, to implement all these things. It's to increase the quantity of information, because increasing the quantity of information, well, helps building confidence in your choice to follow intelligent systems. And let's have a look at a fun way that you can implement this, because, well, explicative parameters are well known, but we can have a look at Google Maps. And one awesome thing they did. You remember maybe it was like, I don't know, 4 to 5 years ago, people were like, okay, Google Maps tells you to go through this path, but I'm better than the navigation system. I know that we must go through here or over there because it's faster, it's quicker, there are no roadblocks, etc. And yeah, people didn't trust navigation systems that much. And just one day, in one day, Google Maps did this, or Waze, whichever you prefer. And that is awesome, because the performance of the algorithm is the same. Like the path is the same. They didn't had some magic that made better pathways. But the difference is they give you much more information as a user in order to make your choice. They tell you that they considered other paths that you may have thought as a user, but you didn't know if Google Maps considered going through Normandy. Well, now you know they did, and it's worse. They also tell you that they considered all the roadblocks in the middle, okay, roadworks that may have slowed you down, and they tell you around Rennes that there are a little bit of traffic jam, but it's still best for you to go through there, so that's okay. And that's the magic. They didn't improve the performance, but they gave you so much more information for you to decide to follow it, that now you are confident in your decision to follow Google Maps. And today nobody says, hey, don't follow Google Maps or Waze. He's saying bullshit, like everybody just trust them. So that's the first thing, thinking of trust as decision confidence, confidence in your decision to follow the system. You must be confident in yourself, not just trusting a system. Second point, which is very interesting and that we encountered in an industrial context, is that trust is an issue when we disagree. Because when we agree, well, we do the same thing anyway, so why bother? If you think of it, let's say that you receive a recommendation from an intelligent system, whatever, it tells you, okay, do this, an action. We don't care. Well, first question is, do you agree with the system's decision? Because if you do, there is no question of trust. It's like, okay, we would have done the same thing anyway, so let's do it, But if you don't, there is the real question of trust, which is, okay, am I confident in my decision to follow the system, or do I prefer to do it my way? And there you have the question of trust, and you either choose to follow the system or not, depending on quantity of information, like we saw, and many things. So there is a shortcut, and the shortcut is, well, for the system, recommend things that your user agree with, and there is no question of trust. That is quite interesting because it has a few traps, and let's see one in an industrial context. So we're doing a real use case taken from real life, quality assessment, automatic quality assessment in industry. So if we have a production line and it produces 10 batches, which are the little blocks, and well, the ground truth, which is the perfect truth, tells us that 8 out of 10 are green, they are okay, quality is perfect, and 2 in red, well, are incorrect. They have some defects, and we would need to throw them away or refactor them, anything. And we have a user, which is who is a quality engineer, in the factory, and well, he's not perfect, obviously, and he makes 2 mistakes. So he says, okay, batch number 6 has a defect, whereas it does not. And batch number 8 is correct, whereas batch number 8 has a defect. So our user, overall, 8 out of 10 performance, 1 false positive, 1 false negative. That's life. Well, when you build a model who is going to try to do some automatic quality assessment, you can try to make a strong model, the best performance possible. So you go back from ground truth. You have a panel of experts, and they give you the ground truth, and you train your model, everything. And then you have a quite strong model because it has a 9 out of 10 performance. It just made 1 mistake, okay, on the second one. But the trust, it's not that great because there are 3 times, and these are the yellow borders, where the system does not say the same thing as the user would have stated. So 3 times where the user has to ask himself, okay, do I trust the system for doing the automatic quality assessment, or do I trust myself? He may trust it anyway, but 3 times, he has the opportunity to say, no, I don't trust you. A second possible approach is just to say, okay, I'm going to mimic the user, build perfect confidence because I will be acting as a real human being. So we do this, take direct feedbacks from our user, and well, we build a model which does only one mistake compared to the user. So it has quite a strong trust because that's only one occasion for the user to say, okay, I may not trust the model. But it has quite a poor performance because, well, only 7 out of 10 quality assessments are correct. And in the end, you have to choose. Do you either build system 1, which is very strong, but has a weak trust from the user, or do you build system 2, which has a weak performance, well, weaker, but builds a strong trust with the user? And the answer, sadly, is that you have to choose between the two. There is indeed a performance trust trade-off. Like you cannot go beyond this when you begin to reach the same performance as a human would do. At the moment, you have to choose between having more trust by mimicking your users and their mistakes, or having more performance, but having your human users challenging indeed that performance, which is quite awkward when you think of it. So that's something to keep in mind. Performance does not always improve trust. And that can be a real issue when it comes to adoption. And be aware, please, and do not over-focus on users' annotations because they get it wrong sometime. And well, either you you use wrong truth for building your model, and that's a problem, or either you're just going to manipulate them by creating artificial trust, and that can be an ethical problem too. And the last thing I'd like to talk about today is trustworthiness, which is a bit different. Trustworthiness, which is impossible to translate. Like I tried in French and there is no such word in our language. So it's just our inclination to trust or not to trust by default. Like you give me a model, I don't know anything about it, I don't know how it works, I have no information whatsoever, and I have to choose, do I trust it or not? Well, that's exactly trustworthiness. And if you look at our model, we come back to our first model, trusting or not trusting an intelligent system. Well, trustworthiness is basically the bias. How high or how low do I start on the curve? And if I'm quite fond of new technology and I believe that AI is going to change the world in a positive manner, then, well, I have a positive bias. I think that intelligent systems are trustworthy. So I'm on the green curve. But I could be, on the other hand, someone who fears AI, and maybe AI is going to take my job and have more of a negative bias. And then I find this intelligent system to be untrustworthy, and I would be on the red curve. And what's interesting for us is that the exact same quantity of information, because the two curves have exactly the same shape, give us two different outputs regarding trustworthiness. If I start with a high trustworthiness, well, bingo, I have trust. If I start with a low one, that's a shame, but I won't get any trust from this user. So that's interesting for us to keep in mind because the starting point of our user is very, very important, and we need to work on this. Like before they get any information, they have to start with an inclination to find the systems trustworthy. Trustworthiness is not a rational concept. It has nothing to do with KPIs, great figures, awesome productivity gains. We don't care about this. That's not what it's about. It's just an emotional concept, And I say that because in B2C context, I think when you're Spotify, Google, and you sell directly to your users, well, that's something that you are very aware of. But for us consultants who are working in a lot of B2B contexts with people building intelligent systems, not for their clients, but for internal processes. Well, this is much more difficult to handle, and people often think that, well, intelligent system says the KPI will be better, so let's go. And there's a kind of a problem because it doesn't create adoption. A way to work on trustworthiness is to use something that is quite easy to understand, which is social transitivity. Basically, the friends of my friends are my friends. Well, maybe not my friends, but I would tend to be their friends, and the enemies of my enemies. So if we take a user, the girl in the middle, well, if we don't have any interaction with her, like no social link related to this AI system that she's going to use, well, we rely on the random trustworthiness that she will give to the AI system. So she could be very fond of AI, like, I love AI, AI is great, I'm going to the MLUX meetup. Okay, that's great. She will find the AI system trustworthy. But instead, if she is like, nah, no way, AI is going to take my job and we should forbid it and regulate it and everything, well, that's bad luck for us, but she's not going to find this AI system trustworthy. And so there is a high chance that she will not get information to go back to the top of the curve and to use it and to trust it in the end. The way we could work on this, though, is to create a first social relationship with this user, and a social relationship about the system. So me as a data scientist, as a developer, as a UX designer, I have to go and speak with this person and say, okay, I'm the person who built, this system that you're going to use, and I would like to have a positive relationship with you, taking into account your feedback, speaking with you, and just if the quality of the relation is good, regardless of the topics we discuss, then this will reflect on the trustworthiness that the user will give to the AI system. So the lesson is like quite obvious. Talk to your users. Yes, we know that. We know we must do that. But here we have a good reason, and a bit different than just knowing them. It's also that by speaking with them, we create a positive link which will reflect in the trustworthiness defined in AI system, and in the end, in the adoption of AI system. So basically, that's it. I did something quite fast. Did not want to dive too deep in the details. But if we have to remember a few things, well, I like to think of trust not as a global concept, like we should trust or not trust. No, I prefer to speak of confidence. Our confidence, us user, in following or not intelligent systems, and it is now our choice. It's our confidence and not the trust in intelligent systems. We have ways to improve this trust as designers of intelligent system. We could do this by increasing the available information, and we must keep in mind that it's just about making more information available. It does not have to be like super positive information about the model. Just make some information available, the users like it. Take into account the user's annotation, but be very aware of the difference with absolute truth. That's something very important. And work your social relationships as system engineers with users, because creating these will create trustworthiness in your systems. And please be aware that manipulation is never far away when you begin to work on trust issues, like we saw with the quality assessment case. It's easy to make a system that creates artificial trust from our users. You may have heard of the Facebook bubbles at the 2016 election, and it was very close to this phenomenon. And well, please keep in mind that there is a performance trust trade-off. When you begin to get good at AI, you often have to choose, well, at least in the first time, between being more performant or create more trust from your users. So when you're, well, head of project, come the next time and tells you, okay, I need our system to be more performant. Well, just speak with him about this, and let's see if you cannot work on trust instead of performance, because working on performance is not going to make your trust any better on the short term. So, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And I think we're free with Michelle to enjoy any questions.
Yay, thank you. Yes, please show Augustin, because we are all on mute and on video. I really like the talk, please. Yes, thank you, Alexis, for clapping in the chat. And also thank you for doing it in English and pointing out the nuances. I know I particularly love that. So thank you again. And like I mentioned, I've been tweeting this entire time about some of the key takeaways that I think are most important for this audience. So definitely check us out there. But yes, now we can move into our kind of Q&A section. I see that some folks have already started asking questions. You might have to ask your questions again because I'm just seeing so much applause for Augustin. Yes, thank you, woohoo! Actually, Augustin, I would love to have you stop presenting so that way I can present, and maybe I could kick it off with some just general questions and we can move into audience questions. Sound good? Perfect. All right. So, well, one of the questions that I know that some folks have is, can you tell us a little bit more about OCTO Technology and like what it is that you all do? Like, it sounds like an amazing team where you work with designers, data scientists. What does that look like?
Okay, well, we're a consulting firm, which is part of Accenture, but we're quite independent indeed. So about, I would say 600 or 700 people in France. And we're doing a lot of stuff on all the aspects of IT, not just data, but good programming, change management, and DevOps, cloud, but also all the data related stuff that we talked about today, where we have, I would say, like 200 people working on data related topics. And well, clients, every sector, I would guess. But we're a team that I lead about user-centric data science, because we felt that there is a real thing about data scientist, UX design, and these two worlds talking together. Because we data scientists, well, we're engineers. We tend to focus on technical issues, how to build solutions to problems, but not everything is a technical issue. Not everything is a problem to solve. So we felt there is something, and that's why we tried to set up this team and tackle these topics, and then we finished at the MLUX meetup.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for giving some more context as to the cool OCTO Technology team out in Paris. And awesome to hear that you all are such a big company. That's great. I know there's going to be some questions, or there's already been asked some questions. I'm going to try to combine some questions like on the fly too, and then we could start in those actual long form questions. But you've done a great job at distilling like kind of like the overall concept of trust across many different domains. I imagine as a consulting company, you all are working in many different domains. How do you like take this concept to many different types of users? Because it's easy to talk about one single user and their trust of the system, but like, what if you are designing things for a lot of different people? How do you think about that?
Well, I have to confess that I didn't ask myself the question first. Well, I don't know. I would say it's quite broad. Like giving more information seems to be something standard. Like I don't know why would some users not desire information, but I may be wrong. Well, I have no other clue than just conducting classic user research, and we have to speak with them and to measure their use also. We could do some classic A/B testing and everything. But I don't think the only point I see is like trustworthiness. Well, you can build social link with all your users. That's impossible. Sadly for us, well, especially in B2C context, at least when you specify that's really impossible. But
Yeah.
but
No.
well, maybe I don't know if that's what's behind all the personalization you see, you know, in all the macOS environment where it calls you by your name and everything. And I feel this has to be related to social transitivity and creating positive emotions and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And you can imagine too, like one person who might be an engineer on Google Maps really trusting like, ah, yes, I know how this is made, compared to like, you know, someone who has always used paper maps and they're like, how is this even giving me this answer? Like, I don't understand. You can go this other way. I've always gone this other way my entire life. So love that you're also talking about user research too. But for now, I want to tap into a question from Spencer. In a B2C context, do you think that providing providing options, whether or not to be included in an A/B test, given the user's option to switch between variants, would increase trust or anything like that? Spencer, feel free to clarify in chat if you want me to ask your question better.
Well,
but yeah, would love to hear about your B2C context and what your thoughts are about testing that.
yes, because we often see, you know, systems who tells you, okay, we're testing a new version, you can try it there, you can roll back if you don't like it. But I don't know if, like, I've never seen that for an AI feature. Like, I've often seen that for interfaces and yeah, but for AI sounds a bit difficult.
Yeah. Super interesting. I also want to like celebrate the fact that you all are a data science team that is actively working with UX in a lot of different ways. Can you tell us a little bit more about that day to day and like kind of what that looks like for your team? Like what happens maybe if your data saying one thing, but your user research says another? Like what does that look like?
Well, how it looks like, we would enjoy having all these problems on every project, you know, because it would mean that we have user research every time and that we would be asking the right questions. Okay, do we have to follow a technical path that may be needed, or do we have to favor a user's need and to choose between these? But what happens on the everyday basis is more that we have to convince our clients well, to take into account the user's need. And often they come with saying something like, okay, I want to do some predictive machine learning to do this. Help me do it. Help me set this up. And we're like, okay, but that's great. But what is the problem you're trying to solve, or what is the user's need, you know?
Totally.
How are you going to measure this? So on the day-to-day basis, it's more like asking these questions again and again, putting measure everywhere, asking people, okay, are you going to measure this? How? Did you find the good metrics? Are you sure it is this one? Can we use these two more? You know, and this triggers thinking about, okay, what am I trying to solve? How will I see it? How will I measure it on my business? So trying to, yes, to trigger the right questions in our client's mind, because today it's more about, okay, do me something technical that I read in Gartner that we should do something technical. But yeah, that's more about it. We would like to have the problems of choosing between technical requirements for AI and users' need on the other side.
Oh my gosh, totally. And that sounds so similar to like a lot of the work that I've done where people are like, I want AI because it's AI, it's cool. But love, like what you're saying is like, if you've not defined a great user need or problem, no matter what type of cool AI you use, it's just not going to work very well because we're not actually addressing a problem. So love that point, and love that your team is also working on that. And that's like a part of your process. I think that's just so great. I have a question from Anna here saying, what are some good practices for increasing confidence when giving/presenting information in an intelligent system?
Yeah, well, I stated a few of these in the presentation, but went quite fast on this. The easiest one when you're speaking of binary recommendation is like, any classification problem is like giving a decision probability instead of just, a binary decision. Like instead of do this, says, well, you should do this, and I'm confident I'm at, let's say, 92%. There is a huge difference in user trust and user adoption between these two. You have a lot of things for, making your models and system a bit more explainable, saying, okay, I recommended that to you because of this, because I have these features that says, we did something, to illustrate a bit in the banking sector. So when a client called, we had to say, okay, is this person going to churn, like to quit the bank? And should you give her a promotion in order to just to retain your clients? Or is there no problem and you should treat this as a regular call? And what was very important for all the people answering the phone calls was to have information about why the model thought that these people were going to churn, and to walk away from the bank. And so we did a bit of prediction feature importance, which gave them information about, okay, we predicted that this person is going to churn because it has the age of 32 and he has a salary above this level, so it makes him quit. And then the person answering the phone calls could be, okay, this gives me a bit of social profile, so I can know why this person is going to leave, and this made it much easier for them. So anything that gives a bit of information to the users about how your model works, because it also helps them building their mental model of how your model works. So anything about explainable AI works.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Augustin. And I love that example about the bank where it's like not just saying, yes, this person might churn, but like, here are some reasons why. And like, that also could address a lot of other problems too that they might be interested as well. So super cool. And speaking about, in particular, design, I'm just going to give a shout out to the People Plus AI guidebook. They actually have a really great chapter on explainability and trust if you are interested in about design patterns, which I think, Augustin, you talked quite a bit about indirectly about like, here's show one option and multiple options. So for the designers in the room who are interested, take a look at that People Plus AI guidebook. All right, I'm gonna ask one more audience question, then I have a question for you and your team. But I'm gonna ask this question about one of the topics related to trust and intelligent system is automation bias. I know that at the beginning of the talk, you kind of were like, okay, things that we are going to talk about, things that we aren't going to talk about. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about this or any other thoughts too.
So sorry, I just didn't get it. Please ask again.
It's okay. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, Brian runs a podcast related to this. So yes, I am interested in this question from Dipti on one of the topics related to trust and intelligent system is the automation bias. Can you talk a little bit more about this in your line of work as like a data scientist?
I don't. What do you find it in the chat? So sorry, Michelle, but I don't get it.
Oh, it's okay. It's up here, right above Brian's talk. Or oh, thank you, Andrea.
Is the automation bias also anchoring bias? Okay, I don't. Well, maybe I know of this one, but with a different name. So, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know about this one.
No worries, that's totally fine. And I think I would like to move into like my final question. I always like to ask this question for those of you who are recurring members of MLUX. Like, we have a captive audience here of like data scientists, UXers, PMs, software engineers, so many fantastic people. What would be one piece of advice that you want all of us to take back to our teams? I'm sure a lot of us have gathered some kind of like nuggets from your talk and everything too, but what would be like the one thing that you want us to go back to our teams? And instead of talking about our projects at stand up, we're like, oh my gosh, we saw this talk, it was so cool, blah, blah, blah.
Oh yes, thanks, Deepti. So you said it's about people distancing anything automated on principle, regardless of its performance.
Awesome. And we can get back to that automation bias question maybe after this, but Augustin, would love to just ask you, like, what would be one piece of advice that you want us to take? Oh, sorry. It's okay.
I got focused on this one. Well, the one piece of advice would definitely be, do not think of trust as, a global thing of, it's just not an ethical debate, which is very important, the place of AI in our society, and could we trust AI for everything? But just think of it also at a more local scale, and there it becomes just confidence in our decision to use AI or not as a user. So that's, I think, what we could get with today.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. What a great takeaway just for us to kind of think about too. And also love that you've tried to reframe it as well about like trust is like a binary thing. What if we think about it in terms of confidence or something that's a much more like, instead of black and white, we can think about it in different ways and different lenses. So on that note, I would love to just say thank you to Augustin for giving this talk, not only in English, but also distilling all of these fantastic kind of like insights that your team has seen across many different projects. So thank you, Augustin. Woo! But also thank you so much to Andrea, Johan, Nidhi, and all the OCTO team that has made this possible. As I mentioned, they were the ones that kind of pitched this talk to us over at MLUX. So thank you for that. Also, big thanks to all of our volunteers. As I mentioned, we have volunteers who write up the events afterwards, who put it on YouTube and all this other stuff too. There's a lot of people behind the scenes. I'm just kind of the one talking right now. And also thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your evenings to learn from us. And of course, if you want to say hi, we have humans@mluxsf.com. That's the best way to reach us. It kind of pings a bunch of us. Andrea is going to keep the line open and we can continue the conversation. But Andrea, if you want to stop the recording, and then we will continue from there. Thank you, Augustin.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, everybody.